You're watching American DA Live. On this episode, host Jack Patty, Ray the DA, and Mark Simpson, who's a psychologist for the Federal Medical Center, will discuss how Mark thinks that a more lenient sentencing law will affect the criminal mind. Stay tuned for details on this case.
Mark Simpson is with us this morning. Mark has been with us several times in the past. He's a psychologist at the Federal Medical Center, and Mark just has this ability to calm me down when he walks in. He's just got this calm demeanor. Mark, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here.
It's good to be here, Jack.
We're going to talk about the criminal mind this morning.
Well, that's right. You know, I've been whining about the legislature's what I call their catch and release or hug a thug crime fighting strategy, where they put a price tag on the public safety by saying, look, we can't afford to keep people incarcerated. And I've ran into Mark, and I live in the same neighborhood. Of course, he lives over in the Big Bucks part, and I'm just a little lean.
He's behind the fence,
Yeah. And but we talk regularly. He and I became better acquainted, as a result of the Taquan Neblett murder trial. That when Derek Elam was murdered by this outlaw, Taquan Neblett, by being shot in the back of the head at Sammy's Music Store, and Mark's wife was Derek Elam's violin instructor. And so they were there at the trial, most of the trial, and Mark is got a very interesting job. He's a psychologist at the federal prison. I'm sure it's got a better name than that.
We dress it up.
Yeah, but that's what it is. First of all, tell us a little bit about this mysterious place out there on Leestown Road called the Federal Medical Center. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think people who are native to Lexington remember it as the old narcotics farm, and there was actually a public TV documentary on it a couple of years ago, where people were sentenced for narcotic rehabilitation. And in the 1970s, the Federal Bureau of Prisons took it over, and it's been many different things. It was a minimum security co-ed prison when I first went there, which was an interesting sociological study, putting men and women criminals together.
Oh boy,
that didn't work, did it?
Well, they thought it did, but the inmates enjoyed it. And then we went to all female. We've been all male. We've had various things. Now we are a medical center where it's a prison for medical inmates as well as a camp for female inmates.
Now, when you say medical inmates, are these people sick?
Yes. Primarily physical, yes, because we have an aging prison population and we have to provide treatment. There is also a mission for some what we call rehabilitation, but it's primarily for people with physical medical needs.
Well, tell us a little bit about how does a psychologist work at the Federal Medical Center?
That's a good question, Ray. One of the things that I think makes my work different from some other prison settings is we are actually correctional workers. I am a federal law enforcement officer. My wife is listening. She might be chuckling when I say that, but we're actually trained in firearms.
You're a crime fighter.
I'm a crime fighter.
There you go.
And actually in emergencies that I am expected to respond the same as anyone else. I'm trained in firearms every year.
Wait a minute. Does that mean run like hell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I run like hell. And that makes it different because not only do we provide psychological care, but we also provide correctional care in both roles, which I think makes it unique.
What I want to do is I want to get to this business of what's happening in Kentucky, and I want a psychologist that works with the criminal mind opinion of some of this stuff. What do you see coming down the road? Our legislature has said we can't afford to incarcerate so many people. as a result, what they call nonviolent property offenders have been discouraged from being sent to prison in the first place, and those that are already in, who constitute, based on my study, the significant percent of the 5% that commit 80% of the crime, they're being released from prison by the parole system early. Now, what sort of impact? Tell me what people are thinking about these criminals. What are the criminals thinking? Because they pay attention to this stuff. They know about all this stuff. And then we'll talk a little bit about this drug treatment. First offense, people are being sentenced to drug treatment and deferred prosecution and that sort of thing. So just react to that too.
Well, let me start first with criminals may do stupid things. They're not stupid people. They pay attention to the laws very closely. They spend a lot of time in the law library, and they talk to each other. And one of the things you have to realize is that whatever impacts one inmate impacts all inmates because they talk to each other. And one of the basic principles of psychology is behavior that is reinforced gets repeated. So the consequences of our behavior guides what we do. And so when the inmates realize that there are ways to cut their sentences, they talk to each other, and they're all going to focus on getting out of prison.
To learn more, click below or tune in every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk 590.